Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Bhagavan Acharya Vishesha Shunyavadi Pashtya Desha Dharana Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shri Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So much technique here. Previously, people came together to hear about Krishna or Rama or other forms of Vishnu, and they really had to concentrate because they knew there's no recording. If you sleep during the pravachan, the speech, bad luck. So we think we are advanced because we have all this technique of recording and sending the speech around the world with internet and all this stuff. But this is a symptom not of progression. It means that our mental ability has reduced. We need this. So in previous times, you go to a teacher, you hear from them, and you have to concentrate. Maybe it's the only time you can hear from him. Because usually you had to walk a long distance to go to him. You have to make a pilgrimage to some place. So in some sense, yes, it is an advancement, all this stuff here. But in another sense, it confirms what Srimad Bhagavatam says, Banda Sumanda Matayo. People are, in the Kali Yuga, they become lazy, extremely lazy and slow in understanding philosophy. So we have to talk about, or fortunately, we can talk about Rama Lila. And I also heard that today there will be a celebration, the Vyasa Puja Day of Radhanath Swami. There are disciples here of Radhanath Swami. Anyone? No? Are they all? No, it's good that you mentioned this because whenever I went to a temple where disciples of Radhanath Swami were in charge, you feel welcome. They're very polite and nice and always ready to help. Because you can, this is also a symptom of a great guru, of a great person. You will see how his disciples are behaving. And yes, I had the fortune to spend some time with Radhanath Swami in Mumbai for a week. We traveled in Mumbai for preaching and I stayed some weeks in his temple in Mumbai. Yeah, many good things could be said, but I guess this will be also said by those who speak about him later. So we speak about Ram. So we have heard that the Ramayana starts with that there's a great sage sitting in his ashram, Valmiki. And he's going in the morning to the river to make his morning duties. And he sees at the other side of the river, at the other shore, how a bird, a crane, is killed by a hunter. And this crane was just, in a kind of amorous pastime with his wife. I'm not sure exactly how cranes expressed their love amongst each other, but they were like talking and flying around. So it looked like they had a nice time. So the hunter shot one of the cranes. And of course, Valmiki, he got angry. So sometimes people who are very austere, and Valmiki was a great sage, he had done austerity, tapasya for thousands of years. Sometimes you get a lot of realizations, but also sometimes your mind and your heart get hard. And we see it pretty often in the Vedic literature that these yogis or sadhus, what's the English word, I forgot, fluch, they curse, right? They curse someone out of anger. Normally, someone who is self-realized, who's advanced in spiritual life, he should not curse, he should not be angry, especially not a Brahmana. Kshatriyas, they should be angry sometimes. If they have to go to war, they have to be angry. Otherwise, if you are too peaceful, how can you fight a war? This was one of Krishna's arguments for Arjuna. He said, "You are a Kshatriya. Now we are here on the battlefield. You know since months that this war will come. And now you're honestly saying you will not fight? This is ridiculous. You are a Kshatriya. You will fight. And if you restrain yourself, then this is artificial. This is against your nature. So fight, but fight for the right cause. You cannot step down from your chariot and sit down under a tree. This doesn't work. You're not a Brahmana, you're a Kshatriya. And Kshatriyas are mainly dominated by Rajaguna, passion. They are a mixture of goodness, Sattvagun, and Rajagun, passion. So therefore, you need angry people to have a war. But of course, they should also be holy people. So, because even in wars, there are a lot of rules to be followed. But this is another topic. So, yes, Valmiki got angry. He cursed this hunter. He said, "This was not necessary to kill this bird." Especially in this moment when they had fun. They are going to mate. So, but after cursing the hunter, Valmiki got upset about himself. He knew, oh, this was not good. I should not curse people. I made a mistake. So, but he spoke the curse in a certain rhythm, which was not heard before. Therefore, there's a famous saying in India, shoka means sadness, sorrow. Shoka turns into shloka. Shloka means verse. So, and then of course his disciples, they heard this shloka, this curse, and they were fascinated. It was nice. It was a certain nice rhythm, because usually Sanskrit, many times it is not just spoken like we speak. It's in a certain rhythm. There are different rhythms. Ramayana is usually written in what is called anushtup. You have a certain amount of syllables in every line. So, so Valmiki went back to his ashram, and he was still confused. What have I done? And then suddenly, as he was sitting down and meditating, surrounded by his disciples, even more famous personality came, Narada Muni. He's very famous, and there are a lot of stories connected with him in the Puranas and also in the Bhagavatam. And they had a little talk about a personality which is perfect in the sense of Narada Muni, or in the eyes of Narada Muni, because Valmiki asked him, this is the normal attitude a person has to have. If you meet a holy person, a more advanced person, you should ask questions. This is good. So you will make advancement. Everyone has some doubts. That's normal. We are not perfect. So we have some doubts, we have some questions, and if you meet an advanced person, ask him questions. And Valmiki asked Narada Muni, after offering obeisances and all this, what is to be done. So who is perfect? Can you describe to me or name to me in person a man, not a god, a man who's perfect? Narada Muni did this. He mentioned about a king with the name Rama. So, and he described Rama, and he described all his wonderful qualities he has. So Valmiki was impressed, but later on he was still sad and upset about himself that he cursed this hunter, and then suddenly a swan arrived. And you might know that the swan is the carrier of Brahma. These different gods have different carriers. Right? Vishnu has Garuda, of course, and Brahma has a swan. Shiva is usually riding on Nandi, a bull. So they have different birds and all kinds of animals they use for flying. Of course, they're not a normal. The swan is just not a normal animal as we know swans. The swan is huge and can fly everywhere at any speed. So Brahma approached Valmiki's ashram, and of course Valmiki was really impressed because Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu are the three topmost personalities in the universe. He's the creator. All living entities, all kinds of species are coming from Brahma, ultimately. So he is the guy responsible for creation and the Rajaguna, passion. The first, after Vishnu, the first living entity in the universe. This is all described in the Bhagavatam, especially second canto, how Brahma came. So Valmiki was impressed, but Brahma, he realized that something was going on with Valmiki. He was not completely happy. He should be happy. He's living in his ashram. He's meditating about Vishnu and his forms. Everything should be fine. So Brahma asked him what is wrong. And Valmiki told him, yeah, I just had this incident. There was this hunter killed a bird, and I cursed the hunter. And Brahma said, that is all right. Now, you have heard about Rama from Narada Muni. Now, I give you the ability to write down the life of Rama. You will see everything, what he thinks, what Sita is thinking, what Lakshman is thinking, Ravana, Hanuman. You will see it before your eyes, so close and so clear as you would have a leaf in your hand. So if you have a leaf in your hand, it's not very difficult to describe it if you're not blind, of course. So you will see this before your eyes, and therefore you are empowered to write this down or to compose a text describing the life of Rama. This text is called Ramayana, the journey of Rama. So, and it is about 20,000 shlokas, verses. In other places, it's more than 100,000 in the heavenly planets. So, and since Valmiki composed this and gave it later on to his disciples, Lava and Kusha, sometime later, 1,000 years later, thousands of years later, someone wrote it down, and we have it now in Sanskrit, and also other languages, of course. It's a long text, 20,000 verses, and it starts like this: that Valmiki is empowered to write this down. This is the beginning. So one gentleman who was busy in the kitchen, he said he would like to hear today about the fight between Lakshman and Indrajit. Now, if you're not familiar with Ramayana, with the whole story, I have to explain a little bit how it became a fight. So Rama's wife, Sita, was kidnapped by Ravana, a Rakshasa. I make the story very short. And Rama is on the search, he has help, he's teaming up with Hanuman and his allies, monkeys. So finally, they discovered that Sita was kidnapped and brought to Lanka, which is south of the modern India. It's not the today Sri Lanka, it's another place, but anyway, that's another topic. So Rama and these millions of monkeys, they are going there, they build a bridge to Lanka, it is a huge war going on. So one after another of the generals of Ravana, the king in Lanka, is dying in the battles. This battle goes on for weeks. Now, Ravana was very powerful because he had blessings from Brahma and from Shiva. He was so powerful, he controlled the whole universe. Even the devas. even the devas like Surya, Chandra, Agni, Vayu, Varuna, all these devas, Indra, they could not conquer Ravana because Ravana was so powerful. So he had different sons, Ravana, and one son was called Meghanada, or as usually Indians say, Meghnad. They skip the short A very often. So in Sanskrit, Meghanada, this was his name. And he was, as Rama later said, even more powerful than Ravana. So he was really powerful. And one day, he went out to fight with Indra, the leader of all the demigods, who's pretty powerful. And he has a weapon, his Rajta, which is hard to translate. It's kind of a club, something like this. So it's a long story, but finally Meghanada, he conquered Indra. He conquered Indra, he didn't kill Indra, but he conquered him, he bounded him and threw it to the feet of Ravana. He said, here, this is my present, Christmas present. I conquered Indra. And of course Ravana was very pleased to see the power of his son. And from this time on, Meghanada was better known than as Indrajit. Jit means someone who has conquered, who has won in a war, in a battle. So he has conquered Indra, therefore he's called Indrajit. Now this Indrajit, he also acquired a lot of blessings. And one blessing was that he could become invisible. If he makes a certain yagya, then he gets the power to become invisible. So this yagya means he has to sit down, he needs some brahmanas who chant mantras, he has to offer certain things into the fire. So it's a long thing, but if he does it properly, he will become invisible, which is of course a helpful quality if you have to fight a war, if you are invisible. And Indrajit, he used it. And he killed millions of monkeys. And, no one knew what to do because where to shoot. You couldn't see your enemy. There were arrows coming there, but you could not shoot. Because he also had a very fast chariot. So he could move in the sky from one place to another and always shoot his arrows. So he was so powerful. And even Ram and Lakshman, they could not do anything. Where to shoot? So one weapon Indrajit had was a so-called sarpa, snake. He could shoot arrows, and these arrows turned into snakes. Previously, the how to say, the most qualified fighters, they didn't fight with hands and feet. They fought with mantras. To speak a mantra, you just need a kind of carrier, usually an arrow. Could be also a piece of grass, but usually it's an arrow. You shoot your arrow, You speak a mantra and then a huge flood is coming, or a huge fire, or this arrow turns into 1,000 arrows, tens of thousand arrows. So this is the reason why also Rama, previously there's another story before this war, he could kill 16,000 warriors at a time. Because he just spoke mantras and he could shoot not just one enemy with one arrow. Yeah, alarm. He could shoot or he could kill with one arrow thousands of enemies. So Indrajit had this weapon that his arrows turned into snakes. So there were almost hundreds of arrows stuck into the body of Lakshman and Ram. Because the arrows came, but they could not do anything to avoid them, to defend themselves. And then these arrows turned into snakes, and they bounded Lakshman and Ram. And it's not only that they bounded him, but these snakes, they suck your life out of your body. Heavy snakes. And no one could do anything against this weapon. Even Lakshman and Ram could not do anything. Of course they could if they would have. For Vishnu he can do anything, but he's playing the role of man, not of a god. So he could not do anything. Lakshman was laying beside him, and all the great generals of Ram came, Sugriva, Hanuman, and so on, surrounded him, and they were standing there and could not do it. But snakes, they're a great enemy. They're all scared of him. Garuda, the carrier of Vishnu, he's half man, half eagle. Very famous all over Asia. Garuda. I think there's one airline. It's called Garuda Airline. I don't know, Indonesia or something. Yes, Garuda is very famous. So he's the most horrible enemy of all snakes. So, and then you picture the scene that Rama and Lakshman are laying on the battlefield, bounded by these snakes, and they, of course, they make a huge noise. These snakes, they're creating sounds which usually snakes do. Everyone was scared, and then you hear first very not very loud, but you hear something, some wind, and it's getting louder and louder, and then the wind which is blowing getting more fast, so until it's a storm, a huge storm, and everyone had to, they all had to hold each other or go on the ground, and some of the monkeys even flew away because of the storm, and then you could see him, Garuda, coming. This huge, it's not, it's not in the size of a normal eagle. Yeah, he's really huge. So, and he was not even there. The snakes were scared and they left the bodies of Lakshman and Ram. So finally they came back to consciousness. And the fight was going on. Now, after many days, it was pretty obvious that Ravana's army is losing. So Ravana turned to Indrajit and said, you have to kill the Ram, otherwise we are lost. So Indrajit, again, he turned to a special place outside of, not outside, but a little away from the main palace. He had a spot in a grove, a little temple, and then there he turned to make his yagya, because he wanted to become invisible again to kill Ram. So Ravana had a brother, Vibhishana, who was also a Rakshasa, but he was a Vaishnava. So there was, of course, a huge problem. If you are in a family of Rakshasas or demons and you are Vaishnava, then you have problems, of course. So ultimately, it's also a long story, but ultimately Vibhishana left Ravana, he left Lanka and became an ally of Rama. So therefore Vibhishana, he knew many things which are pretty secret. And only the insiders in Lanka could know this. So he turned to Rama and said, we have a problem. Indrajit is going to his special temple to make this special yagya. And if he does it again, you have seen how much havoc he is creating amongst our troops, and even your life was in danger with these snake arrows. So we have to stop him. We have to immediately stop him. So Rama turned to Lakshman and said, okay, now this is your turn. You have to stop him. Because Indrajit, he's even more powerful than Ravana, so you're the right person. Now you have to fight with him. And Vibhishana said, yeah, but you really have to hurry up, because he started already his yagya. And as soon as he finished it, then we are in real trouble. So someone has to stop this yagya. So this yagya, this offering, requires a lot of purity and a lot of punctuality and cleanliness. It goes on for hours. And if you do one mistake, you have to start from the beginning. So Vibhishana, he told Hanuman, you have to go, because Hanuman can jump to any distance, to any place in a second. So Vibhishana said, you have to go there and somehow, you have to stop this yagya. To stop such a yagya, even if there are hundreds of warriors protecting, in a sense, it's pretty easy. You have to use some substance which will pollute this whole ceremony, like flesh. Of course, not if it's a yagya to Durga, where you offer flesh, this is another thing, but a yagya, a Vaishnava yagya, so to say. To Durga, there are no Vaishnava yagyas. These are Shakti yagyas, or Shaktas yagyas. So, but you can spit on the yagya, for instance, or you can throw excrements. And Hanuman went there and he just urinated in the fire. And then the yagya was finished. So it was polluted. You have to start again. But Indrajit, he had no time to start again because the war was going on out there. You could the whole time you could hear the noise and the cries of dying and injured people on both sides. Every day, millions of rakshasas and vanaras, monkeys, were dying every day. There were huge rivers of blood, and there were, of course, flesh lying all over the place, pieces, arms, heads, legs. And in the night, just like in Kurukshetra also, in the war in the Mahabharata, in the night all kinds of flesh-eating animals came and had a feast. Because in Kurukshetra also millions died. Arjuna had one day where Arjuna single-handedly killed 1 million warriors on the other side in one of these 18 days. But Kurukshetra is another topic. So there was a huge noise, and of course shouting and screaming and crying. So he had already a hard time to concentrate on his yajna. And then Hanuman came and polluted the whole yajna. Of course, Indrajit, he became angry. And then a start between Lakshman and Indrajit. A war started between Lakshman and Indrajit. First, they had some talk. We would say dirty talk. They were blaming each other that you are a coward, you are useless, and you talk like a child. And so it was going on for some minutes. And this is common amongst fighters. You try to intimidate the other person a little bit and to get on his case, and give him some bad names and these things. This is, he liked this. He liked to do this. Then they started their war with arrows, which was the usual way to fight. And as I said, they had different kinds of trickery also. And it goes on and on. Usually you first kill the horses of the chariot and you kill the charioteer. And then they have to step down from the chariots and they continue to fight. And also then of course, both have their armies around them. And the army generals have to fight amongst each other. So it's going on for many hours. And then there's always, not a problem, but there's always a time when the dark forces, so to say, become stronger. This means if it's getting dark. Asuras, Rakshasas, and the like, they get more power if it's getting dark. So you better finish before evening your fight. Amongst very highly cultured kshatriyas, as I said, there are rules. And one rule is you never fight if the sun is setting. If the day ends, if the sun has set, there's no fight. And the fight starts when the sun has risen again, only at daylight. This is one of the rules. And you never fight against brahmanas, women, children, and even not against other warriors if they are weaker, obviously weaker than you. You should fight only with people who are on the same level. And not a group is fighting against one person. These are all rules. You never kill someone who is fleeing from the battlefield. This is also a rule. You never kill someone from the back. This is another rule. So there are really a whole list of rules. It's not just that they fight and kill each other. There are rules, and a good Kshatriya, a highly cultured Kshatriya, has to follow. So it went on for many hours. It was going back and forth. And finally, Lakshman took the, so to say, the deciding arrow and killed Indrajit. Of course, both of them had a lot of wounds. Arrows were sticking all over their bodies. And the army was fled. They had killed thousands of other soldiers on both sides. But finally, yes, as the story has to go, the good will win. You know, Lakshman killed Indrajit, and of course later on Rama killed Ravana. Yeah. And the interesting thing is that the Ramayana shows that, how to say, you need help from any place you can get. If you look at the closest allies of Rama, except Lakshman, there were no human beings. There was a Rakshasa, Vibhishana. There was a Vanara, Sugriva, and Hanuman. There were Jatayu, an eagle, or vulture. Different explanations of him. A bird. And his brother Sampati, Jatayu's brother, also helped a lot. So this is not the normal situation for a king. He usually has an army of good warriors, generals, and soldiers. But Rama, all his friends, also Guha. Guha was also very helpful and a good friend. And he was a robber living in the forest. He was not a high quality Kshatriya. So Guha, Jatayu, Sampati, Hanuman, Sugriva, Jambavan, a rickshaw. Rickshaws are a mixture of Vanaras and bears. So Jambavan. So these were the closest allies of Ram. So Lakshman would not have been able to conquer Indrajit if there wasn't Vibhishana. He was a Rakshasa, so he was from the enemy, from the field of the enemy, but he has changed to Ram. And there were, as Vibhishana came to find shelter with Ram, almost everyone said, "Oh, kill him. You cannot trust him. Maybe he's a spy. He's the brother of our arch enemy. He's the brother of Ravana." And even if he would have turned away from Ravana, even if this would be true, this shows his bad character. Because now Ravana is in the situation of a war against us. And in this situation, his brother is leaving him. What kind of behavior is this? This is very bad. So he must have a bad character. So how can we accept him in our troops? So, and the other possibility is he's a spy. Ravana is sending him. And then Rama is giving these famous words. I guess everyone in India knows these words. When Rama said, "Whoever surrenders to me, I accept him. Whoever seeks shelter with me, I will give him shelter, even if I know he is my enemy." Therefore, it is said in the Ramayana, if Ravana had surrendered, many people told him, just don't fight this war against Rama. Just surrender, give Sita back, surrender to Rama. So Rama would not have killed Ravana. And it goes even further, because Rama has promised that Vibhishana will be the king in Lanka. So if Ravana had surrendered, so the question is, he will be the king where? And Ram was willing to give Ayodhya to Ravana for as his kingdom, because he had promised that the king in Lanka will be Vibhishana. So he could have surrendered many times. No. So Vibhishana, which later on he's also called Lankeshwar, the Lord of Lanka. In South India, he's very well known as Lankeshwara, the Lord of Lanka. And he's pretty, he's pretty famous in South India, Vibhishana. So Vibhishana was close brother of Ravana, and he could give the hint that Indrajit is doing his yoga, and where he is doing. No one knew where this little temple in the grove is, where Indrajit is doing his yoga. Without Vibhishana, nowhere. So, yeah, sometimes we get help from strange places. There's a saying in the Bhagavatam, if you find gold, pick it up from any place, even if it's a dirty place. So if you get help from a Rakshasa, who was a very close friend and brother of your enemy, why not? If you get help from an eagle, why not? From a monkey, okay. From a dacoit like Guha, why not? So, yeah, if you are, how to say, if you have the eyes, you will find help in many places. There's also the story in the Bhagavatam of a person who's doing Python yoga. Python yoga means you lay down at a certain place and you do nothing. Nothing. You lie down like a snake, like a python. You do literally nothing. And even then, you don't die. You're nourished. Somehow, things come. So there are many stories where people explain, I learned this such and such quality from a donkey, this such and such from a monkey, from a snake, this and so on. You can learn from animals a lot of things. So this was strange that this yogi, he's not dying and he's not starving. Although he doesn't move, he's just laying down. Maybe he turns around from time to time. I don't know. Probably. but he's not walking or sitting on, no. Python yoga would probably not work today. After 10 minutes, most of us will probably think, oh, where's my mobile phone? Oh, someone is calling me. Unbelievable how the world has changed just by mobile phones, right? Unbelievable. In some cities, in the shop in the middle, usually you have kind of a Fußgängerzone, shopping street, where only pedestrians are allowed, no cars or nothing. They have a certain lane. They have a certain lane made, like in Hong Kong and Tokyo and cities like this, for people who are not on the phone. Right? So because in this lane you can walk normally, like a normal person. In the other spaces in the street, they're all looking on their phones, so they bump into each other, and it's like a slalom run. So there's a lane for people who are not talking on the phone. Right. This is really funny. Oh, so much has changed. Yeah, and since we are celebrating the Vyasa Puja day of Sri Radhanath Swami, I remember that in his biography there's a story also connected with Ram. He was in the India. He started his search all over the world, first to Europe, then to India, to look for truth, for God. So his friend was Jewish, and they first went to Greece and Italy and things like this. So finally they came to India. They went to different ways, so to different persons and yogis. And Radhanath, he went to the Himalayas. He took a lot of tapasya, and of course, normally to this time, it happened very often that Westerners, they went to India and then they disappeared, so to say, in some ashram, in some mountain, in somewhere. And the Indian government, after some time, they thought, no, this is not nice. All these hippies are somewhere here, and this is not how it should be. So they started a policy: if they catch someone with a visa who has run out, he has to leave immediately. They throw him out. No mercy anymore for the hippies and smokers and so on. So Radhanath Swami, he was spending a lot of months already in India, and he was in the mountains with some yogis and meditating, heavy tapasya. And somehow someone told him, "Oh, if the police is catching you, because your visa has run out since years, they will throw you out immediately." So, okay, finally he decided, okay, I try my best. So he went to Patna, which is in the northeast of India, Bihar, and he went to this office. Now, office means a little room with, not in good shape, piles of paper everywhere. So, and he said, yes, I'm American and I would like to prolong my visa. So he gave the passport to this guy and filled up some formula, and the guy looked at his passport and said, "Oh, you have to leave immediately. You have to leave the country immediately." So, of course, Radhanath, he was not very pleased by this idea to went back to America. So he wanted to stay and continue his journey, his search for God. So he said, "Oh, please, can you make an exception?" And the guy said, no. It's not just months over, this is years. So you have to leave. Yeah, but, and then Radhanath Swami, he spotted behind this officer was a nice picture of Sita and Rama. So he suspected that this guy was a Vaishnava. And then he said, you see, you cannot send me back to America because in my country, people eating cows. And the guy said, what? Oh, horrible country. But you have to leave. Sorry. Yeah, but in my country, you see, boys and girls, they mix together, even before they're married. Oh, he said, what a horrible country. My goodness, no culture. Yeah, you cannot send me back to this country. I have to. So, and then he started his last attempt and said, you see, in my country, no one knows who is Sita and who is Rama. And the guy said, no, no one knows. So I came to your country to learn, to love Sita and Rama, which was not a lie. He came to search, and he already knew so much that he understood this is Bhagavan. So, but in my country, no one knows. So I have to stay here to learn more about Sita and Rama. And the guy, he jumped up and said, I'm also a Ram Bhakta. I cannot send you back to this horrible country. And he gave him a stamp for another visa, I don't know, a year or 3 months or whatever. I said, yeah, stay here in this country, you can learn about something about Rama. This is the place, right? This is Dharmakshetra, the place of religion and spirituality. This is in the 70s, 50 years ago. Probably today, it would not work in India, I guess. I don't know, but this is my guess. India has changed. So probably now they have a computer and everything to reject you for another visa, right? Yeah. Advancement. No, it's not advancement. I know that many of the Indians who are living here in Germany, they are all studied, and many has to do with IT, business, engineering. So that is okay, but it's not really the symptom of advancement in a spiritual sense. In a material sense, of course, it's a huge advancement. Should I stop?
Yeah, so
One short question, maybe? No. Good. So if you keep this in mind, that you can get, if you are open, you can get help from any place and any person. Even if someone is treating you ill, get on your cases. Even this can be help in spiritual life. That you think, a Vaishnava always thinks, oh, if I have a problem, if I have to undergo some pain or sorrow, it's my bad karma, so I'm purified. That's nice.
I just have a point of reflection. Thank you for your lesson. In relation to how Lord Ram was always getting help, as you said, from other beings, I think it's also interesting to note that there are also non-living beings that kind of indirectly helped Lord Ram, like the Samudra, the ocean, also gave way so that he could go to Lanka, including the Panchavati which came, which Hanumanji brought. That was also something that helped ultimately in the story. It contributed. So there were also some non-living elements, let's say, that also kind of helped in the story in a way.
You are right and you are wrong.
Yeah.
He said that, as I explained, that many living entities helped Ram, and not only human beings, but animals and so on. But there are also non-living entities helped. But the ocean is not a non-living entity.
Yeah, sorry. I said some other.
The ocean is, but Varuna is not. Varuna is the lord of water. And not the ocean is giving way to Ram. Varuna is. And he's a demigod, he's a living entity. And even the herbs Hanuman took with the whole mountain. This is also another famous story, in case everyone knows in India. These herbs are also living entities. And the mountain is a living entity. And the yogis sitting on the mountain are living entities. There is no non-living entity. Because everything is personal, even the ocean, the mountain, stones like Shalagram Shila in the Himalaya, these famous Shilas, these famous stones, they're living entities. So this is one of the most fascinating aspects of Hindu culture, to understand everything is personal. The sun is a person, the moon, the earth, God. It's not just an energy, it is a person. You can talk with him. He has clothes, he has jewelry, and he has many forms, thousands of forms. Choose your form. It's up to you, up to your taste. And if you do not find a form according to your taste, he will create a form for you, just for you. Even if you're the only bhakta of this form, the only devotee. This power a soul has. Krishna follows your desire of love because he wants to have this exchange between the soul and him. And since he's a person, you can talk with him. You can meet him. You can see him. Not just as an energy, as a person. He is a person. Rama is a person. And Krishna is a person. And Kurma and Varaha. Personalities. Not just an energy, forming himself into something, a bush or a voice. No. You can meet this person as a person. This is incredibly valuable, this point in Hindu philosophy. This is not possible in other ways, not even in other Indian ways, like Shakta worship or Shiva. Of course, you can meet Shiva as a person also, in Durga. But Bhagavan, as you can meet in the Vaishnava way. And definitely you will. And there is a very wonderful book of Sanatana Goswami. There is described what happens when the soul comes in the spiritual world and meets Krishna again. I won't tell this now because it's too long, but if you have a possibility to read it, it's available in English. You will melt. I tell you, you will melt. And you will strengthen your desire to go there also, to Vaikuntha, the spiritual world. So we have a non-Indian schedule, which means on point. And the next thing has to happen. So thank you for listening about Rama. Thank you very much. Jai Shai Sitaram Ki Jai.
Krishna. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, it's good that the lecture is recorded, so we can also release it afterwards. So now we will have lecture, recorded lecture. We will hear from Maharaj. So still with preparation is going on, and now after the offering is done, the lecture will also be done, and then we can honor it. So I will play the lecture. So I request all the devotees also to patiently and attentively listen to the connected words from Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Angst, da wird eine widerwärtige Benzinache entstehen, aber zum Glück verdunstet es.
Weißt du, wo mein Papa ist? Ja. Wenn ich reingehen, das heißt, ich freue.
And if you put it there, you will. Sri Rupam Sadjatam Sahavana Raghunathanvikam Aram Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Savijana Savitam Krishna Chaitanya Sri Radha Krishna Bhagavan Sahagana
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamine Jaya Namo Anubhava Jayate Buddha Rama Rama
Nein, ich habe mit den Regenschirm heute mit mir hier. Ich habe keine. Was schon? Ich habe keine. Ich habe keine Räder. Ich habe Räder.
These prayers that we have sung are meant to invoke the blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and those great souls in our disciplic succession who have propagated His causeless mercy from the beginning of time. Srila Prabhupada put great emphasis on the system of parampara because this is the original process established by Krishna himself to receive transcendental knowledge. The very glorious feature of our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is that it is a line of pure, unmotivated bhakti.